The alarm on my phone doesn't so much as ring as it vibrates with a soft, persistent hum. It's 5:30 a.m. in the heart of a bustling city on the East Coast. Outside, the world is still draped in shades of blue and gray. But in here, my day has already begun. My name is Alex, and I'm a finance operations manager for a mid-sized technology firm we'll call Innovatech Dynamics.
Disclaimer: the information presented is for informational purposes only and is not professional financial, investment, or tax advice. All investments involve risk and may result in partial or total loss. You should always conduct your own research and consult with a qualified financial professional before making any financial decisions. By viewing this video, you agree not to hold the creator liable for any loss or damage arising from your use of the information provided.
My world isn't about picking winning stocks or predicting the next market crash. It's about the engine room of finance. My job is to make sure the company's financial machinery runs smoothly, efficiently, and without error. It's a world of processes, controls, and systems that ensure every dollar is accounted for, every payment is made on time, and every financial report is accurate. The first 30 minutes of my day are sacred. No emails, no news headlines, just a cup of black coffee and a moment of quiet. This is my time to mentally map out the day's priorities before the deluge of data and requests begins. As a finance operations manager, my role is not advisory. I'm not telling people where to invest their money or how to file their taxes. Instead, I manage the systems and teams that handle the flow of money in and out of the company. Think of it like being an air traffic controller, but for corporate funds. My team and I are responsible for accounts payable, accounts receivable, payroll processing, treasury management, and ensuring our financial systems are operating perfectly. We are the guardians of the company's financial integrity from an operational standpoint. By 6 a.m., I'm at my home office desk. The first screen I pull up isn't my email inbox, but our company's core financial dashboard. This is my first look at the company's financial pulse. I'm checking our primary cash positions across various bank accounts. Did the large wire transfers we initiated yesterday settle correctly overnight? Are our current balances in line with the cash flow forecast my team prepared? Any unexpected large debits or credits need to be identified immediately. A discrepancy here could be a simple timing issue, or it could be the first sign of a processing error or, in a worst-case scenario, a fraudulent transaction. This morning, everything looks clean. The numbers align with our projections, and the overnight automated reports show no system failures. That's the first small win of the day. Next, I scan the global market summaries. Again, I'm not looking at this from an investor's perspective. My focus is operational risk. For example, a significant swing in foreign currency exchange rates could impact the value of payments we're due to receive from international clients. If the British pound weakens significantly overnight, the dollar value of a large invoice we issued to a UK-based customer will be less than we anticipated. My job is to be aware of these shifts so I can coordinate with our treasury analyst to manage that currency exposure according to our established company policies. It's about proactive management, not reactive panic. I make a quick note to check in with Sarah, our treasury specialist, later in the morning about our current currency hedging positions. It's now 6:45 a.m. and it's time to face the inbox. I use a structured approach. First, I filter for emails from my direct team members. These are often the most urgent, relating to a vendor payment issue, a payroll question, or a system glitch. I see an email from Mark in accounts payable. A key supplier's automated payment failed overnight. The subject line is flagged as urgent. This immediately becomes my number one priority. A delay in payment to a critical supplier could disrupt our supply chain, which has a direct impact on our ability to deliver products to our customers. I quickly read through the details. It seems to be a data formatting error in the payment file sent to the bank. I flag the email and draft a quick response, letting Mark know I'm on it, and will connect with him as soon as our team huddle begins at 8:30. I also forward the technical details to our IT support liaison, asking them to start investigating the root cause of the file corruption. The next sweep of emails is from cross-functional partners. The sales team asking about a new client's credit status, the human resources department confirming details for new hires to ensure they are set up correctly in the payroll system, and a query from the legal team about the financial wording in a new vendor contract. Each of these requires careful attention, and more importantly, directing the request to the right specialist on my team. My role is often to be the central hub, ensuring that requests are triaged and handled by the person with the right expertise. I delegate the credit check to Maria in accounts receivable, and the HR query to David, our payroll lead. The legal question is more complex. so I schedule a brief 15-minute call with the attorney for later in the afternoon to ensure we provide them with precisely the information they need. By 7:30 a.m., my initial triage is complete. Now I can focus on planning. I use a simple digital task board to outline the day not just for myself, but for my team. The top priorities are clear. Resolve the failed supplier payment, review the final draft of our monthly closing checklist, and approve the payroll register for the upcoming pay cycle. These are the big rocks. The smaller pebbles are things like reviewing team performance metrics, preparing for a mid-morning meeting about upgrading our expense reporting software, and signing off on a series of standard operational reports. This planning phase is critical. In finance operations, it's easy to get caught up in a constant state of reaction, fighting fires as they pop up. But an effective operations manager builds resilient systems and processes to prevent those fires in the first place. A significant part of my job is strategic. Looking for opportunities to automate manual tasks, improve our internal controls, and make our processes more efficient. That software upgrade meeting, for instance, isn't just about new technology. It's about saving hundreds of hours of employee time per year and reducing the risk of human error in expense reporting. As 8:15 a.m. approaches, I shift my focus to preparing for our daily team huddle. This is the most important meeting of my day. It's a quick 15-minute stand-up call where we connect on our top priorities. I pull up our team's key performance indicators, or KPIs. I'm looking at metrics like days sales outstanding, which tells us how quickly our clients are paying us, and invoice processing time, which measures our own efficiency in paying our suppliers. These numbers tell a story. They help us see where we are succeeding and where we might have a bottleneck. Today, the data shows that our invoice processing time has crept up by about 12 hours over the past week. It's not a crisis, but it's a trend I need to address with the team. My goal in the huddle isn't to assign blame, but to ask the right questions. Does the team have the resources they need? Is there a recurring issue with a particular type of invoice? Is one of our systems causing a delay? The coffee is now cold, but my mind is fully engaged. The sun is up, and the city is awake. My inbox already has a dozen new emails, and my calendar is a colorful mosaic of meetings and deadlines. The failed payment issue is still my top concern, but I feel prepared. I have a plan. I have the data, and I have a great team ready to tackle the challenges ahead. My day as a finance operations manager has truly begun. It's time to log into the video call for our morning huddle and get the financial engine of Innovatech Dynamics running at full speed. The video call window populates with the faces of my team. There's Mark from Accounts Payable, looking as focused as ever. Sarah, our treasury specialist, gives a quick wave from her desk. David, our payroll lead, is already sharing a link to a new compliance update in the chat. This is my core team, the people who keep the financial gears of Innovatech Dynamics turning every single day. Our 8:30 a.m. huddle is not about lengthy presentations, it's about alignment and action. I start the meeting immediately. Good morning, everyone. Let's get straight to it. Top of the list is a failed payment to one of our critical hardware suppliers, Omnitech. Mark, can you give us the 30-second summary? Mark's face fills the screen. Morning, Alex. Right. The payment was part of our standard overnight automated batch. The file was generated successfully according to our system logs, but the bank rejected the specific transaction for Omnitech. The error code is generic, data formatting error. All other payments in the batch went through without a hitch. Omnitech's finance department will be expecting the funds to clear this morning, so the clock is ticking. This is where my role shifts from manager to conductor. I need to orchestrate the response, ensuring we're attacking the problem from all angles without duplicating effort. Okay, thank you, Mark. Here's how we're going to tackle this. I want to run a three-pronged approach. First, communication. Mark, I need you to be our point of contact with Omnitech. Please reach out to your contact in their finance department immediately. Let them know we've identified an issue, we're working on it as our highest priority, and we'll provide them with an update within the next 2 hours. The key here is to be proactive so they don't have to chase us for information. Also, discreetly confirm if they've made any recent changes to their banking information, just to be certain. Mark nods, already typing an email. On it. Second, the bank. Sarah, can you take the lead on this? I know the error code is generic, but you have the best relationship with our commercial banking support team. Please call our dedicated representative. Sometimes they can see more detailed error logs on their end that aren't visible to us. We need to know exactly which data field the banking system objected to. Was it the invoice number, the address, a character in the name? Sarah pulls up her monitor. I'll call them right now. I'll ask them to walk through the raw data file with me if they can. I'll have an update for you before 10 a.m. Perfect. The third prong is internal. I've already looped in our IT liaison, but I want to double-check our own processes. Mark, was this the first time we've paid Omnitech using the new, fully automated file format we launched last month? He thinks for a second. I believe it is. Their last payment was at the end of the previous quarter, just before we went live with the new system. An important clue. Okay, that's a strong lead. It could be an issue with how our system is handling a specific piece of their vendor data in the new format. Once Sarah gets feedback from the bank on the exact point of failure, we can work with IT to implement a permanent fix. For now, our priority is getting this specific payment out the door. Sarah, if we can't resolve the file issue in the next hour, we'll need to resort to a manual wire transfer to ensure Omnitech is paid on time. Please be prepared to execute that as a backup plan. I quickly go around the virtual room, checking in with David on payroll, which is on track, and getting a quick update from Maria on a client with a large outstanding balance. In less than 15 minutes, the meeting is over. Everyone knows what they need to do. The fire is being fought, and now I can pivot to the other part of my job, preventing future fires. My next meeting at 9 a.m. is about a project I'm genuinely excited about: the selection of a new expense management software. I navigate to a different video call link, this time with Jessica, the head of IT, and Ben from Human Resources. Good morning, Alex, Jessica begins. I've reviewed the 3 vendors you shortlisted. From a technical standpoint, all 3 can integrate with our existing financial and HR systems. The security protocols all meet our standards. So from my perspective, the decision comes down to functionality and user experience. Ben from HR adds, and from my side, the key is policy enforcement and ease of use. Our current process is manual and clunky. Employees are frustrated with it, and my team spends way too much time chasing down receipts and correcting non-compliant reports. We need a system that makes it easy for our employees to do the right thing. This is the core of the project. It's not just about buying software. It's about improving the work lives of our employees and strengthening our company's internal controls. I share my screen, which shows a simple feature comparison chart I prepared. Thanks both of you. That aligns perfectly with our goals in finance operations. I want to highlight a few key areas, I say, pointing my cursor to a row labeled Automated Policy Checks. Option A, for example, allows us to build our company's travel and expense policy directly into the system. If an employee tries to submit a meal expense that's over the daily limit, the system will flag it instantly and provide a link to the relevant policy document. This isn't about policing our people, it's about providing immediate, clear feedback. Ben from HR smiles. That feature alone would save my team at least 10 hours a week. Exactly. I continue. And for us in finance, look at this feature. Automated general ledger coding. Based on the expense category, the system can automatically code the transaction to the correct department and expense account. This reduces the risk of manual errors during our month-end close process, making our financial reporting more accurate and timely. We spend the next 45 minutes diving into the details. We discuss the user interface, the mobile app's functionality for uploading receipts, and the reporting capabilities that will give department heads better visibility into their team's spending. The conversation remains strictly focused on operational efficiency, process improvement, and system functionality. We are building a better machine, one that serves the company and its employees more effectively. We agree on a vendor and outline the next steps. Jessica's team will conduct a final technical review, Ben will begin drafting the employee communication plan, and I will work with our procurement team to finalize the contract. As I sign off from that call at 10 a.m., an email notification pops up on my screen. It's from Sarah. The subject line reads, "Update on Omnitech payment." I click it open, my focus instantly snapping back to the day's most urgent problem. The morning is far from over, and the outcome of this next update will determine the course of my next few hours. I take a steadying breath before clicking on Sarah's email. In finance operations, the details in a message like this can mean the difference between a simple fix and a long night of system diagnostics. The email is concise and clear, just as I'd expect from her. "Alex," it begins, "the bank support team was incredibly helpful. They confirmed the file was rejected because of a special character in Omnitech's address field. It was an ampersand, the and symbol. Our new payment file generator is passing that character through directly, but the bank system requires it to be written out as the word and. It's a tiny detail, but their validation system is absolute. All other data was perfect. I'm standing by for instructions. A wave of relief washes over me. This is the best possible outcome. A clearly identified, solvable technical problem. It's not a systemic failure or a data corruption issue, but a simple formatting requirement we overlooked in the transition to our new system. I immediately start a group chat with Sarah and Mark. Great work, Sarah. That's exactly what we needed. Please proceed with the manual wire transfer for the full amount to Omnitech right away. Send me the confirmation once it's executed. To Mark, I type, please inform Omnitech that the issue was a technical formatting error on our side. Let them know a manual wire has been initiated, and that they should see the funds by the end of their business day. Reassure them that we are implementing a permanent fix. Within minutes, they both confirm. The immediate fire is out. The supplier will be paid, and our relationship with them remains secure. Now for the permanent solution. I navigate to our IT ticketing system and find the ticket I created earlier. I update it with precise details of Sarah's findings, including the specific field, the character, and the required format from the bank. I assign it a high priority status and request that the development team create a script to sanitize vendor data, automatically converting special characters to the bank's required format before any payment file is generated. This fix will ensure this specific error never happens again with any of our vendors. This entire sequence, from identification to resolution, took less than 2 hours. This is the essence of effective operations management. Rapidly moving from detecting a problem to implementing both a short-term solution and a long-term preventative measure. With the Omnitech issue now in the hands of the IT department, I can turn my attention to a less urgent but equally important task, preparing for our upcoming month-end close. The close, as we call it, is the multi-day process where we finalize the financial records for the previous month. It's a carefully choreographed sequence of tasks involving everyone on my team and the accounting department. My job is to act as the project manager, ensuring the process runs on schedule and identifying any bottlenecks. I pull up our closing checklist, a detailed project plan with hundreds of tasks, dependencies, and deadlines. I'm not looking at the dollar amounts, but at the workflow. I scan the status of each task from the previous month's close. My eyes are drawn to a familiar choke point: intercompany reconciliations. This is the process of ensuring that transactions between our company's different legal entities, for instance, our US headquarters and our European sales office, are in perfect balance. The data shows this task consistently takes 2 full days and often requires manual adjustments, which can delay the subsequent steps in the closing process. My job is to ask why. I start digging into the transaction-level data. Is the problem with a specific type of transaction? Is the volume of transactions simply too high for the current manual process? Or is there a lag in getting the necessary information from our international counterparts? The data seems to suggest the issue is volume-related. The number of intercompany transactions has grown by 30% over the last year as our company has expanded, but our process for reconciling them hasn't changed. I make a note to schedule a meeting with the corporate accounting manager. My goal won't be to tell them how to do accounting, but to partner with them to find an operational solution. Can we increase the frequency of reconciliations from monthly to weekly to handle smaller batches? Can we work with IT to build a tool that automates the matching of common transactions? My focus is always on improving the process to make it more reliable, faster, and less prone to error. This analytical work takes me through the next hour. It's quiet, focused time spent with spreadsheets and process maps. This is the strategic side of the role that I truly enjoy. While solving urgent problems is exciting, designing more efficient systems provides lasting value to the company. Just before lunch, I turn to the team KPIs I reviewed before our morning huddle. The data point about our invoice processing time increasing by 12 hours still bothers me. Averages can be misleading, so it's time to segment the data. I filter the report to separate domestic invoices from international ones. The story becomes immediately clear. The processing time for our domestic suppliers is stable, even slightly improved. The entire 12-hour increase is attributable to invoices from our overseas vendors. This is a critical insight. The problem isn't with my accounts payable team's overall efficiency, it's a specific issue within a subset of their work. I drill down further. The longest delays are associated with invoices that require approvals from budget holders based in different time zones. By the time our AP specialist in the US gets a question answered from a manager in Singapore, a full day can be lost. This isn't a problem I can solve alone. It requires cross-functional collaboration. I draft an email to the head of our Asia-Pacific sales division. I frame the issue not as a failure, but as an opportunity. I present the data clearly and concisely, showing the average delay. I then propose a brief meeting to discuss potential solutions. Perhaps we can establish a dedicated point of contact for invoice approvals in her region. Or maybe we can adjust the deadline for their team's invoice submissions to better align with US working hours. My goal is to present a business case for change, using operational data to show how we can work together to make the entire process more efficient for everyone. As I hit send on that email, I glance at the clock. It's noon. The morning has been a perfect representation of my role. A blend of immediate crisis management, proactive system improvement, and deep dive data analysis. The payment is made, a system fix is in progress, and I've identified 2 key areas for process improvement to focus on in the coming weeks. Now, it's time for a quick break before an afternoon of meetings where I'll try to turn these insights into action. My short lunch break is over, and my first meeting of the afternoon is the one I scheduled just before noon. A video call window opens, and I'm greeted by Priya, the dynamic head of our Asia-Pacific sales division. She's based in Singapore, so for her, it's early in the morning. I'm immediately mindful of the time difference, and the importance of making this call productive for both of us. Priya, thank you so much for making time on short notice. I begin. I know your morning is just starting. Not a problem, Alex, she replies with a warm smile. I saw your email and the data you sent over. I appreciate you bringing this to my attention directly. To be honest, we've felt the friction on our end as well. Let's figure it out. Her collaborative tone is exactly what I was hoping for. This isn't about pointing fingers, it's about fixing a broken process. I share my screen, but instead of a spreadsheet, I bring up a simple process map I sketched out. It shows the journey of an invoice from when we receive it from a vendor to when it gets paid. As the data suggested, I explain, the main delay, this yellow box here, is the time it takes to get approval from the budget holder in your region. My goal today is simply to understand your team's workflow better. What does this step look like from your side? Priya leans into her camera, studying the diagram. Okay, this is helpful. From our perspective, the challenge is twofold. First, my regional managers are on the road constantly, visiting clients. Our current approval system is difficult to use on a mobile phone. They often have to wait until they're back at their hotel in the evening to log into their laptops, which can easily add a day's delay. This is a crucial piece of information that data alone could never tell me. It's a technology and usability issue, not a performance issue. Second, she continues, sometimes the invoices from vendors lack sufficient detail. It might just say consulting services. My manager then has to email the vendor or the project lead to figure out exactly what the charge is for before they can approve it in good conscience. That back and forth adds even more time. I nod, taking notes. That makes perfect sense. These are exactly the kinds of operational hurdles we can solve together. This is incredibly helpful, Priya. Based on what you've said, I have a couple of initial ideas. I switch to a blank virtual whiteboard. On our end, the expense management software we're currently finalizing has a much more robust and user-friendly mobile app. This should make approvals much easier for your traveling managers. I'll make it a priority to include your team in the pilot testing group for that rollout. That would be a huge improvement, she says, looking genuinely pleased. For the invoice detail issue, I continue. What if we work with your operations lead to standardize the information we require from vendors? For instance, we can make it mandatory for every invoice to include a specific project code or a purchase order number. My accounts payable team can then enforce that requirement before the invoice even gets sent to your team for approval. We can reject it back to the vendor if the necessary information is missing. Priya's eyes light up. That would be a game changer. It puts the responsibility on the vendor to provide the right details up front, and saves my team from doing investigative work. We spend the next 20 minutes brainstorming further. We agree to set up a shared dashboard so her team can see the status of their invoices in real time. We also establish a clear escalation path for any invoice that remains unapproved for more than 48 hours. By the end of the 30-minute call, we have a concrete action plan with owners for each item. We've turned a problem, identified through data, into a collaborative solution that will benefit both of our departments. My next meeting is very different. It's my weekly one-on-one with Mark from my accounts payable team. This is my dedicated time to step away from projects and processes, and focus on my most important resource, my people. Hey Mark, I start. Great job this morning on the Omnitech issue. Your communication with them was professional and proactive, and it really helped keep the situation under control. Thanks, Alex, he says. I'm just glad we got it sorted quickly. Me too. So shifting gears, I wanted to check in on your professional development goals. I know we talked last quarter about your interest in getting more involved in data analysis. How are you feeling about that? Mark's demeanor shifts. He seems more engaged, more energized. I've actually been doing some online tutorials in my spare time on basic data query languages. It's fascinating how you were able to pinpoint that the invoice delay issue was specific to our international vendors this morning. I'd love to be able to do that kind of analysis myself. This is exactly the kind of initiative I want to encourage. That's fantastic, Mark. I think you have a real aptitude for it. Let's make it more official. The company has a budget for professional training. I want you to research some certified online courses that focus on data analytics for business professionals. Find one or two that look good, and we can get you enrolled. I continue, and let's apply it in a practical way. I'd like you to take the lead on a small project. Let's analyze the payment terms for our top 50 suppliers. I want to see if our actual payment timing aligns with our contractual terms. It's a great way to use real data to find patterns and insights. It's low risk, but it will give you a chance to practice those new skills on a meaningful task. We spend the rest of the time talking through the specifics of the project and his career aspirations. This conversation is just as important as the one with Priya. Improving systems is critical, but empowering and growing my team members is how we build a truly resilient and high-performing finance operation for the future. As the clock nears the end of the workday, I take the last 30 minutes to wind down and prepare for tomorrow. I review my task list, marking items as complete. The Omnitech payment has been confirmed as received by the supplier. Loop closed. I see a comment on the IT ticket. Their development team has scheduled the system patch for deployment over the weekend. Progress. I scan my calendar for the next day. It starts with a department-wide finance meeting, followed by a working session on the month-end close improvements I was brainstorming this morning. The day is already taking shape. This moment of quiet reflection and planning is my way of ensuring that when I log on at 5:30 a.m. tomorrow, I'm not just reacting to the day. I'm ready for it. The second day begins much like the first. It's 5:30 a.m., and the city is still asleep. The familiar ritual of a quiet cup of coffee helps me transition from rest to readiness. My morning check of our cash positions and system health reports is blessedly uneventful. The patch for the Omnitech payment issue was deployed successfully over the weekend, and all overnight payment batches processed without a single error. A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor, but on some mornings, a calm harbor is exactly what you hope for. Today, my calendar is dominated by a task that is less about putting out fires and more about fire prevention. It's my quarterly user access review for our primary financial systems. This might not sound like the most exciting part of my job, but it is one of the most critical. In finance operations, we are the guardians of the company's financial gates. It's my responsibility to make sure that only the right people have the right keys to the right doors, for the right reasons. The principle is called segregation of duties. In simple terms, the person who can create a new vendor in our system shouldn't be the same person who can approve a payment to that vendor. The person who can initiate a wire transfer shouldn't be the same person who can authorize it. These controls are the bedrock of a secure financial operation, protecting the company from both accidental errors and intentional fraud. By 9 a.m., I'm deep into the review. I have a report that lists every single employee with access to our payment processing platform. The report shows their name, their role, their specific permission level, and the date their access was last certified. My task is to go through this list, line by line, and verify that each person's access is still appropriate for their current job responsibilities. I cross-reference the list with the latest employee roster from Human Resources. I see Mark's name, and I confirm his access level is appropriate for his duties in accounts payable. I see Sarah's name, noting her higher-level permissions to execute treasury functions, which is correct for her role. The process is methodical, detailed, and for the most part, routine. Then I see a name that makes me pause. Let's call him Kevin. I recognize his name immediately. Kevin was a senior specialist on the accounts payable team until about a month ago, when he accepted an exciting new role in the marketing department. I pull up the HR roster again. It confirms his new title, Marketing Analyst. I look back at the access report. It shows that Kevin still has active permissions to create and approve vendor invoices up to $5,000. My pulse quickens slightly.
Disclaimer. The information presented is for informational purposes only and is not professional financial, investment, or tax advice. All investments involve risk and may result in partial or total loss. You should always conduct your own research and consult with a qualified financial professional before making any financial decisions. By viewing this video, you agree not to hold the creator liable for any loss or damage arising from your use of the information provided.
There is no indication that anything improper has happened. Kevin is a trusted, long-term employee. But from a control standpoint, this is a significant gap. An employee in the marketing department should not have the ability to approve payments. His access should have been revoked on his last day in the finance department. My first action is immediate and decisive. I open our IT service portal and submit a critical priority request to have Kevin's access to the finance systems revoked immediately. I don't need to ask questions or get approvals for this step. My responsibility as a process owner is to close the control gap first and ask questions later. Within 10 minutes, I receive an automated confirmation from IT that the access has been terminated. The gate is now closed. Now the investigation begins. This isn't about blaming Kevin. This is about understanding how the process failed. The employee transfer protocol is supposed to be straightforward. When an employee changes roles, HR initiates a workflow. That workflow should automatically generate tickets for the relevant departments, like IT and finance, to review and adjust system access. Somewhere, that chain of events broke. I start by reviewing the transfer ticket that HR created for Kevin's move. I see the ticket was sent to IT to change his email signature and organizational chart placement. However, there is no corresponding subtask generated for a finance systems access review. I found the point of failure. It seems the automated workflow is not correctly configured to recognize when a role change requires a financial access review. This is a much bigger issue than a single employee's access. It's a potential gap that could affect any employee who transfers out of my department. I document my findings carefully, taking screenshots of the access log and the incomplete workflow ticket. This documentation is crucial. It's not about assigning blame. It's about providing clear, objective evidence of a process flaw so we can work together to fix it. My next step is to set up a meeting with my counterparts in HR and IT. I draft an email with a non-accusatory subject line. Proposal to strengthen our employee transfer protocol. In the body of the email, I briefly explain the situation without using the employee's name, framing it as an opportunity to improve our internal controls. I write, I recently identified a gap in our transfer process that could lead to inappropriate access to sensitive systems. I'd like to schedule a brief 30-minute meeting to review the workflow and discuss implementing a more robust, automated trigger for access reviews. This will help all of us ensure our systems remain secure. By handling it this way, I'm not just solving a single problem. I'm reinforcing a culture of continuous improvement and shared responsibility for the company's security. This is how trust is built between departments. The rest of my morning is spent completing the user access review, a task I now approach with even greater focus. I find one other minor issue, an employee whose approval limit was slightly higher than their current role dictated, and I correct it immediately. By lunchtime, I have certified the access list, closed a critical control gap, and initiated the process for a long-term systemic fix. This is the unseen work of a finance operations manager. It's the meticulous, patient, and persistent effort to build and maintain the systems that allow a company to run securely. While solving a payment crisis feels heroic in the moment, preventing a crisis from ever happening is where the real value lies. The third day of the week brings a different kind of pressure. It's not the immediate, high-stakes urgency of a failed payment, but the methodical, deliberate scrutiny of an external audit. Our company's independent auditors are in the middle of their annual review of our financial statements and internal controls. And today, it's my team's turn to sit with them. My 10 a.m. meeting is with the senior auditor, a sharp and experienced professional named David Chun. The purpose of this meeting is not to review the company's earnings or debate accounting principles. The auditor's focus with my team is on one thing: process. He wants to understand and test the operational controls we have in place to ensure our financial data is accurate and secure. My role is to demonstrate that our processes are not just documented, but are consistently followed in practice. This is where all the work we do, the access reviews, the system automations, the process improvements, is put to the test. I spend the hour before the meeting preparing, but I'm not scrambling. Preparation for an audit doesn't happen the day of. It happens every day of the year through diligent process management. I gather my key documents: our most recent user access review certification, the process map for our new automated employee transfer protocol, and our standardized procedure for setting up new vendors. I also ask Mark and Sarah from my team to join the call. I want the auditors to hear directly from the specialists who perform these tasks every day. It demonstrates transparency and confidence in my team. At exactly 10 a.m., we join the video call. David, the auditor, is professional and direct. After brief introductions, he gets straight to the point. Good morning, Alex. As you know, our focus this year is on the procure-to-pay cycle. I'd like to start by having you walk me through your process for onboarding a new vendor. How do you ensure that only legitimate, approved vendors are entered into your system? This is a fundamental question, and I have a clear, structured answer ready. Of course, David. We have a strict segregation of duties for this process. The business unit that wants to work with a new vendor initiates the request, but they cannot create the vendor in our system themselves. They submit a new vendor request form through our internal portal. I share my screen, showing a de-identified version of the form. This form requires them to provide the vendor's legal name, tax identification number, and banking information. They also have to attach a signed contract or a statement of work. Once submitted, the request goes into a queue for the accounts payable team. Mark then speaks up, as we had planned. That's where I come in. My first step is verification. I use a third-party service to independently validate the tax ID number to ensure the company is a legitimate registered business. I also check the company against government watch lists to ensure we are not transacting with a restricted entity. This is a mandatory step, and the system will not allow me to proceed without a validation certificate from the service. David nods, taking notes. And the bank account information? How is that verified? We have a dual control process for that, I explain. After Mark verifies the vendor's identity, the system sends an automated request to a separate specialist on the AP team who is responsible for banking data. This specialist calls the vendor directly, using a phone number obtained from the public record, not from the invoice, to verbally confirm the bank account details. This prevents any fraudulent attempts to divert payments. Only after that verbal confirmation is documented can the vendor be fully activated for payment. David seems satisfied with the description. That sounds robust. Now, I'd like to test that control. Could you please provide me with the documentation for the last 3 vendors you've onboarded? This is the moment of truth. It's called a walkthrough. I'm not the least bit concerned. Absolutely. Mark, can you please pull up the records for vendors X, Y, and Z? Mark shares his screen. For each vendor, he navigates through the system's audit log. David can see the initial request form, the date and timestamp of the tax ID validation certificate, and the notes and timestamp from the specialist who performed the verbal bank account confirmation. The evidence is all there, clear and irrefutable, logged automatically by the system. We are not just telling him our process, we are showing him. The audit meeting continues in this fashion for the next hour. David asks about our controls for invoice approvals, our process for executing wire transfers, and the user access review I completed yesterday. For each query, we respond not just with an explanation, but with evidence directly from our systems, audit logs, change management tickets, and process documentation. The discussion of the user access review is particularly smooth. I explain the control gap we discovered, and more importantly, the automated workflow we designed with HR and IT to prevent it from happening again. Presenting this proactive improvement to an auditor is a significant positive. It demonstrates that our control environment is not static. It's a living system that we are constantly monitoring and strengthening. As the meeting winds down, David makes a final note. Alex, thank you to you and your team. This has been very efficient. The level of automation and the clarity of your audit trails are exactly what we look for. It gives us a great deal of confidence in the reliability of the transactions your team manages. Hearing those words is incredibly gratifying. It's external validation of the quiet, diligent work my team does every single day. We don't just process payments and send invoices. We build and maintain a foundation of operational trust for the entire organization. After the auditors sign off, I hold a quick debrief with Mark and Sarah. I thank them for their professionalism and their command of the details. The successful audit meeting is a direct result of their hard work. It's a team win, and it boosts our collective morale, reinforcing the value of the high standards we hold ourselves to. The rest of my day will be filled with other tasks, but this meeting has set a positive and confident tone. We have proven that the engine room is not just running. It's running with precision, integrity, and strength. The positive energy from the successful audit meeting carries me into the afternoon. That session was about proving the integrity of our past actions. My next major task for the day is about looking forward, charting the company's financial course for the coming weeks. It's time to update our 13-week cash flow forecast. If my daily work is about managing the engine room, then cash flow forecasting is like being on the ship's bridge, looking at the weather and the currents ahead. It's not about predicting long-term profitability. That's the role of our financial planning and analysis team. My focus is purely operational. Do we have enough cash on hand, in the right accounts at the right time, to meet all of our short-term obligations? It's about ensuring we can always make payroll, pay our suppliers on time, and handle our operational expenses without any surprises. This isn't a task I can do in isolation. A reliable forecast is a mosaic, built from pieces of information gathered from across the organization. I start by pulling the data feeds from my own team. From our accounts receivable system, I get a detailed aging report that shows which customers owe us money and when their payments are due. But I don't just take the due dates at face value. I apply a layer of analysis based on historical payment behavior. For example, I know that one of our largest clients, while always reliable, consistently pays about 5 days after the official due date. My forecast needs to reflect that reality, not just the theory. Next, I pull the data from accounts payable. This gives me a clear picture of our committed outflows, payments we are contractually obligated to make to our vendors. I also sync up with David, our payroll lead, to layer in the precise dates and amounts of our upcoming payroll runs. Payroll is almost always our largest and most important recurring cash outflow, and its timing is non-negotiable. The final piece of the puzzle comes from outside my direct team. I have a brief sync-up call with a colleague from the FP&A team. I ask a simple question. Are there any large, non-routine cash movements expected in the next quarter that aren't already in the system? He informs me that a significant annual software license renewal is due in week 6, and the first installment for a major capital equipment purchase is scheduled for week 9. I carefully add these large outflows to my model. Without this cross-functional communication, my forecast would be dangerously incomplete. With all the inputs gathered, I sit down to consolidate them in our forecasting tool. It's a sophisticated spreadsheet model that allows me to see, week by week, our expected cash inflows, our expected cash outflows, and the resulting projected closing cash balance. It's like a financial simulation of the near future. The first run of the model shows a healthy overall picture, but it highlights a potential pinch point in week 7. I can see it clearly on the graph, a sharp, one-day dip in the balance of our primary operating account. I drill into the numbers for that week. It's a perfect storm of scheduled outflows. A large payment to our primary cloud services provider is due on the same day that we have a major raw material shipment arriving, and it's also the day after a semi-monthly payroll is processed. While the model shows we would still have a positive balance, it would dip below the minimum buffer level that we have established as our internal company policy. This is precisely why we do this forecasting. We've just identified a potential problem more than a month before it would have happened. Now we can take simple, proactive steps to manage it. I send a quick message to Sarah, our treasury specialist, sharing a snapshot of the forecast for week 7. Sarah, take a look at this. The forecast shows a temporary tightening in the operating account in week 7. I don't see any cause for concern, but let's be proactive. I recommend we plan a routine transfer from our secondary investment account in the middle of week 6. This will ensure our operating balance remains well above the policy buffer. I am careful with my wording. We are not making an investment, in the common sense of the word. We are managing the liquidity of the company's cash assets according to predefined policies. Our secondary account holds cash that is not needed for immediate operations, and our policy dictates how and when it can be used to support our primary account. Sarah messages back within minutes. Good catch, Alex. I see it. I'll schedule the inter-account transfer now. Consider it handled. With that simple exchange, a potential future cash crunch has been completely neutralized. This is the power of forward-looking operations. We aren't just reacting to today's problems. We are preventing tomorrow's. I spend the rest of the afternoon running a few what-if scenarios in the model. What if a group of customers pays a week later than expected? What if an unplanned critical expense arises? This stress testing helps me understand the sensitivity of our cash position and prepares me to answer questions from senior leadership if they ask about our operational flexibility. As I save the final version of the forecast and distribute the summary report to my boss, the CFO, I feel a quiet sense of accomplishment. We have a clear view of the financial waters ahead. We know where the currents are strong and where there might be hidden sandbars, and we have a plan to navigate them safely. In the world of finance operations, predictability is a virtue, and today, we have created a valuable roadmap for the weeks to come. The morning starts with an email that immediately commands my full attention. It's from the head of our marketing department, and the subject line is simple but urgent. Issue with payment to Creative Solutions Incorporated. I know the vendor well. They are a key creative agency we've worked with for years, responsible for some of our most successful marketing campaigns. A problem with them is a problem for the business. The email explains that the agency's finance team has reached out, claiming they were significantly underpaid on their last major invoice. The tone of the email from marketing is one of concern. They are worried about damaging this critical business relationship. My job is to step in, not as an adversary, but as a fact finder and a problem solver. My first principle in these situations is to gather the data before forming any opinions. Emotions and assumptions are the enemy of clear resolution. I open our financial system and begin the digital forensics. First, I pull up the original purchase order, or PO, that our marketing team created for the project. It details the agreed-upon services and a total budget of $50,000. Next, I find the invoice submitted by Creative Solutions. The total amount is $65,000. Immediately, the $15,000 discrepancy is clear. Finally, I look at our payment record. I see my accounts payable team processed a payment for exactly $50,000, matching the purchase order perfectly. On the surface, my team did their job flawlessly. Our core policy is the three-way match. We match the vendor's invoice to the purchase order and to the confirmation that services were received. We pay what we have formally agreed to pay. Anything outside of that original agreement requires a new, approved purchase order. I walk over to the virtual desk of the specialist who handled this payment. Can you walk me through the Creative Solutions payment? I ask. She pulls up her notes. Yes, Alex. The invoice had an extra $15,000 listed under additional campaign analytics and reporting. That line item wasn't on the original PO. I followed standard procedure. I notified the vendor that we were paying the approved PO amount, and that the additional charge would require a revised PO from the business owner. I also sent a note to the marketing project manager letting them know. She did everything right. The breakdown is not in the finance process. The breakdown is in the communication between our business team and the vendor. Now I have the facts. My next step is to bring the parties together to find a solution. I schedule a video call for that afternoon with 3 key people: the finance manager from Creative Solutions, our head of marketing, and myself. I frame the meeting invitation as a collaborative effort to align on the recent invoice. When the call begins, I set a neutral, problem-solving tone. Thank you both for joining. I start. Our goal here is to get a clear understanding of the last invoice for the spring campaign project, so we can make sure everything is settled correctly. My understanding is that we have a discrepancy of $15,000. Let's walk through it together. The agency's finance manager explains his position. Alex, our project team was asked to do a significant amount of extra data analysis and reporting that wasn't in the original scope. Our team delivered that work, and the invoice reflects that. I then turn to our head of marketing. Can you give us some context on this additional work? She hesitates for a moment, then says, yes, that's correct. Mid-campaign, we saw some interesting results and asked their team to do a much deeper dive into the customer analytics. The insights were incredibly valuable. To be honest, in the rush of the campaign, I completely forgot to have my team raise a new purchase order for the extra work. That's on me. And there it is. The root of the problem. It wasn't a malicious overcharge, and it wasn't an error by my team. It was a simple, human oversight during a fast-moving project. My role now is to provide the path forward. Thank you for that clarity, I say, addressing both parties. That clears it up perfectly. It sounds like the work was requested and delivered, so we absolutely need to pay for it. The issue is purely procedural on our end. Our accounts payable team is bound by policy to only pay against approved purchase orders. This is a crucial control for us. I continue. Here is the solution. Immediately after this call, our marketing team will issue a new purchase order for the outstanding $15,000, referencing the original project. As soon as that PO is approved in our system, my team will process the payment. You should expect it to be sent within 2 business days. To the Creative Solutions team, I want to apologize for the delay, and I can assure you we're resolving it now. The tension on the call immediately dissolves. The agency is happy they are getting paid. Our marketing head is relieved there's a clear solution that doesn't damage the relationship. I have upheld our company's internal controls while still ensuring a key partner is treated fairly. After the call, I have a brief, separate chat with the head of marketing. This is the teachable moment. To help avoid this in the future, I suggest gently, let's reinforce with your team that any request to a vendor that will incur costs needs a PO number first. It's the best way to ensure our partners get paid on time, every time, and it helps you manage your budget accurately. She agrees wholeheartedly, and thanks me for facilitating the resolution. This is a side of finance operations that is often overlooked. It's not just about systems and numbers, it's about communication, diplomacy, and finding common ground. By grounding the conversation in process and facts, I was able to turn a potential conflict into a moment of process reinforcement, strengthening both our vendor partnership and our internal procedures at the same time. As the week draws to a close, my focus shifts from ground-level problem-solving to a higher-altitude perspective. One of my most important recurring responsibilities is preparing the finance operations section of the monthly business review, or MBR. This is my opportunity to communicate the performance, challenges, and progress of my department to our Chief Financial Officer and other senior leaders. It's my job to translate the torrent of daily transactions, metrics, and activities into a clear and concise story. The goal of this presentation isn't to overwhelm with data, but to provide insight. Leadership doesn't need to know about every single invoice we processed. They need to know if the engine room is running efficiently, if it's well maintained, and if it's ready for the journey ahead. To do this, I focus on a handful of key performance indicators, or KPIs, that tell this story effectively. My first slide is always our operational health dashboard. It's a clean, simple visual with 3 core metrics. The first is Days Sales Outstanding, or DSO. In simple terms, this measures the average number of days it takes for our customers to pay us after we've billed them. This month, our DSO is 42 days, a slight increase from 39 days last month. A raw number like that could cause alarm if presented without context. My job is to provide the why. I add a concise narrative below the chart. DSO increased by 3 days, primarily due to the successful onboarding of 2 new large enterprise clients, whose standard contractual payment terms are 60 days. Our collection effectiveness on the existing customer base remains strong, with our over 60-day receivables balance decreasing by 5%. This simple explanation transforms a potentially negative number into a positive business story. We are successfully moving upmarket, and our core collections process remains healthy. The second KPI on the dashboard is invoice processing cost. This is a measure of our internal efficiency. We calculate this by taking the total cost of running the accounts payable department and dividing it by the number of invoices we process. This month, our cost per invoice is down by 4%. I add the context. The reduction in cost is a direct result of the first phase of our automation initiatives, which has streamlined the intake and coding of standard invoices, freeing up specialist time for more complex issues. This directly connects a strategic project to a tangible financial outcome. The final metric on the dashboard is control environment integrity. This is a qualitative metric, not a hard number. Here, I list bullet points summarizing key events. Successfully completed annual external audit walkthrough with 0 findings noted, and identified and remediated an internal control gap in the employee transfer protocol. New automated workflow is now in testing. This demonstrates to leadership that my focus is not just on efficiency and effectiveness, but also on risk management and security. The next section of my presentation is dedicated to strategic projects update. This is where I provide a high-level summary of our key initiatives. I have a slide for the new expense management software, showing that we are on track with our implementation timeline. I include a clear, quantifiable goal, expected to reduce the expense report processing cycle by 50% and improve policy compliance upon full rollout in the next quarter. I also include a slide on the robotic process automation project for cash application. I know this is a project the CFO is particularly interested in. I keep it simple, showing the process map we developed and the expected benefits. RPA bot for cash application, project kickoff complete. Expected to automate over 75% of manual cash matching, allowing reallocation of 15 hours of specialist time per week towards proactive credit management and customer query resolution. I'm not just telling them what we're doing. I'm telling them the value it will bring to the business. Preparing this presentation is like being a journalist for my own department. I have to gather the facts, find the compelling narrative, and present it in a way that is both accurate and easy to understand. It forces me to step back from the day-to-day details and think like a business leader. What are the key takeaways? What are the trends? What support do I need from leadership to overcome our next set of challenges? As I finalize the slides, I try to anticipate the questions I might get. The CFO will likely ask about the capacity of the team as the company grows. In preparation, I have a back pocket slide ready with data on our transaction volume growth over the past year, showing how automation has allowed us to handle a 20% increase in volume with no increase in headcount. By the end of the day, the presentation is complete. It's a 10-minute summary of a month's worth of complex work. The numbers on the slides are just symbols, but behind them is the story of my team. Their diligence in managing the audit, their collaboration in solving payment issues, and their focus on building more efficient systems. My job in the MBR is to be their storyteller, ensuring that their vital contribution to the company's success is seen, understood, and valued at the highest level. The day after the monthly business review always has a unique energy. The presentation went well, and the feedback from the CFO was positive. My focus for today is on cascading the key messages down to my team, and beginning the work on the action items that came out of the discussion. The morning starts smoothly, a welcome and productive rhythm of follow-up emails and planning sessions. That sense of predictable rhythm shatters at precisely 10:17 a.m. A message pops up in our team chat from Mark in Accounts Payable. Is anyone else having trouble accessing the invoice management system? Immediately, 2 other team members chime in. Yes, it's giving me a server error. I can't log in either. My own screen confirms it. Our core accounts payable platform, the digital hub through which thousands of invoices are processed and approved, is completely inaccessible. This isn't just a minor glitch. This is the equivalent of the main assembly line in a factory grinding to a halt. My first move is to control the flow of information and action. I immediately start a video call bridge and invite my team leads, our primary contact from the IT infrastructure team, and the relationship manager for the software vendor. Centralizing communication is critical in a crisis. It prevents rumors, speculation, and duplicated effort. Okay everyone, I begin, keeping my voice calm and steady. As we can see, the AP system is currently down. IT, what's the initial assessment? The IT lead, a sharp engineer named Fatima, responds quickly. We're seeing a total loss of connectivity to the application server. It's not responding. It could be anything from a hardware failure to a network issue with the cloud provider. We are actively investigating right now. I don't have an estimated time for recovery yet, but this is our highest priority incident. With that information, my focus pivots from the cause of the problem, which is IT's to solve, to the consequence of the problem, which is mine to manage. Thank you, Fatima. Keep us updated in real time on our dedicated chat channel. Team, let's switch to our business continuity plan. This is no longer a drill. Every 6 months, we practice for this exact scenario. A business continuity plan, or BCP, is a predefined set of procedures to keep the essential functions of the business running when technology fails. It's our playbook for what to do when the lights go out. Mark, I say, addressing the accounts payable lead. I need you to immediately execute Protocol Alpha 1. Your team's priority is to identify all payments scheduled for release today that are classified as critical. That includes key suppliers for our manufacturing line, time-sensitive rent payments, and any single-source vendors whose services are essential to our daily operations. You have the offline list of critical vendors we updated last month. Mark nods, already turning to his other monitor. On it, Alex. I'll have the list compiled within 30 minutes. Sarah. I continue, turning to my treasury specialist. Please prepare the manual wire transfer template. We will be executing all critical payments directly through the bank's portal. This will require a different approval chain, so be ready for that. Every payment will require dual release authorization, directly from me and from the CFO's office, as per the BCP. Understood, Sarah replies. I'll have the portal ready and waiting. My next task is managing communication with the rest of the business. Employees across the company who are trying to submit invoices or check on payment statuses are also seeing the error. I draft a clear, concise message and post it on the company's internal status page. It reads, the invoice management system is currently experiencing an unexpected outage. Our IT teams are working to restore service as quickly as possible. In the meantime, critical supplier payments will be processed manually to avoid business disruption. We will provide another update in 1 hour. This proactive communication is vital. It reduces the number of speculative help desk tickets and manages expectations across the company. It shows that even though a system is down, the finance operation is still in control. The next hour is a blur of intense, focused activity. Mark's team uses their offline documentation to produce a list of 15 critical payments that must be made today.
Disclaimer. The information presented is for informational purposes only and is not professional financial, investment, or tax advice. All investments involve risk and may result in partial or total loss. You should always conduct your own research and consult with a qualified financial professional before making any financial decisions. By viewing this video, you agree not to hold the creator liable for any loss or damage arising from your use of the information provided.
They work with the relevant business departments via email to get the necessary approvals, creating a clear, auditable paper trail. They load the details into a secure spreadsheet, which is then passed to Sarah. Sarah and another specialist on her team double-check every single detail. The vendor name, the amount, the bank account number, before staging the manual wire transfers in the banking portal. I spend my time moving between the different virtual groups, removing roadblocks and providing support. I keep a constant line of communication open with Fatima in IT, and I provide regular 15-minute updates to my own team, letting them know the status. My role right now is to be the calm center of the storm, absorbing the pressure and providing clear direction so my team can execute their tasks effectively. Just before noon, Fatima provides a major update. We've identified the root cause. It was a physical hardware failure on the primary server at the data center. The good news is, our disaster recovery systems kicked in as designed. We are now running on our secondary backup server. We're running diagnostics now, but we expect to bring the system back online for users within the next 60 to 90 minutes. It's the best news we could have hoped for. But we don't stop our manual process. The BCP dictates that we continue with the manual workaround until the system is fully restored and certified as stable. At 12:15 p.m., I give the final authorization for the 15 critical wire transfers. Sarah confirms they have been successfully released. We did it. The essential business functions were maintained. As we wait for the system to come back online, I bring my team leads together for a quick debrief. Excellent work, everyone, I say, and I mean it. This is why we plan and practice. You were focused, efficient, and professional under pressure. We followed the plan and it worked. The crisis isn't over yet, but the most critical phase has passed. The experience, while stressful, is also a powerful reminder of the human element in our increasingly automated world. Systems can and do fail, but a well-prepared team with a clear plan is the ultimate fail-safe. It's been 2 days since the system outage. The hum of normal operations has returned. Invoices are flowing, our systems are stable, and the immediate crisis is firmly in the rearview mirror. It would be easy to simply be relieved and move on. But in my role, the most important work often begins after the problem is solved. A crisis, if handled correctly, is an invaluable learning opportunity. It's time for the post-mortem. I've scheduled a 1-hour meeting with the key players from the incident response. My team leads, Mark and Sarah, and Fatima from the IT department. I've deliberately called it an after-action review in the meeting invitation. The term post-mortem can sometimes feel negative, as if we're dissecting a failure. My goal is the opposite. I want to dissect our success and find ways to make it even stronger. I open the meeting by setting a clear, blame-free tone. Thank you all for joining, I begin. First and foremost, I want to recognize the incredible work everyone did during the outage. We kept the business running, we met our critical obligations, and we did it professionally under intense pressure. This meeting is not about what went wrong with the system. IT is handling that root cause analysis. This is about our response. We're going to look at what went well, what created friction, and what specific actions we can take to make our business continuity plan even better for the future. I start with the positives. Let's begin with what worked. What are we proud of in our response? Sarah speaks up first. The critical vendor list was perfect. Having it predefined and recently updated meant we didn't waste any time debating what was truly urgent. We could act immediately. Mark adds, our internal communication was strong. The dedicated video bridge and chat channel meant everyone knew exactly what was going on. There was no confusion about roles or priorities. We spend a few minutes acknowledging these successes. This is crucial. It reinforces the value of the preparation we do and builds the team's confidence. Then I transition to the most important part of the review. Okay, now let's talk about the friction. Where did we feel the most pressure? What parts of the manual process were the most difficult or carried the most risk? I let the team sit in silence for a moment, creating a safe space for honest feedback. Mark is the first to speak. Getting the manual approvals was tough. We were chasing down budget holders via email, and every response came in a different format. Piecing that together into a coherent audit trail after the fact was time-consuming and messy. If we ever faced an audit on those manual payments, it would be difficult to present a clean story. This is an excellent, tangible point. Sarah follows up. For me, it was the manual keying of the wire transfers into the bank portal. Even with a dual review, the risk of a typo in an account number or an amount is always there. Staging 15 wires by hand, one by one, under time pressure, is not ideal from a risk control perspective. Fatima from IT also chimes in. From my side, while we got our core team on the issue quickly, I think we could improve our initial communication to the broader business. The first 30 minutes generated a lot of speculative help desk tickets from across the company, which added noise to the environment. These are exactly the kinds of insights I was looking for. These are not complaints, they are opportunities. I shift the conversation from identifying problems to designing solutions. This is fantastic feedback, I say, sharing a virtual whiteboard. Let's turn these friction points into action items. Mark, for the approval issue, what if we created a standardized emergency expenditure approval form? It could be a simple, protected PDF or a spreadsheet template stored on a shared, accessible drive. It would have all the required fields, a space for a digital signature, and would ensure every manual approval is captured in the exact same format. Mark's face lights up. That would solve it completely. We could just attach the completed form to each payment record. Great, I say. Action item 1. Mark to lead a project to design and deploy a standardized offline approval form. Let's set a deadline of 3 weeks for the first draft. I turn to Sarah's point. Sarah, regarding the manual data entry risk, that's a major concern. Fatima, does our commercial bank offer any kind of secure bulk payment upload feature for wires? A tool where Sarah could upload a single, pre-formatted file instead of typing each payment individually? Fatima types for a moment. It's a good question. I know they have it for our automated batch payments, but I'm not sure about manual wires. I can definitely investigate that with our banking relationship manager. A secure file upload would be far more controlled. Perfect, I say. Action item 2. Fatima to investigate the bank's bulk upload capabilities for manual wires and report back on feasibility. And for the company-wide communication, I continue. I'll take that one. Action item 3. I will create a set of pre-drafted communication templates for various outage scenarios. Initial alert, update, still investigating, and service restored. That way, we can post clear and consistent messaging within minutes of a future incident. By the end of the meeting, our whiteboard is filled not with problems, but with a concrete plan for improvement. We have 3 clear action items, each with a designated owner and a timeline. We have taken the stress and chaos of an unplanned event and systematically converted it into a stronger, more resilient operation. I close the meeting with a final thought for the team. An event like this doesn't show our weakness. It reveals our strength and highlights our opportunities to get even better. Thank you all for your honesty and your commitment to improving our processes. This is how we ensure we are ready for whatever comes next. As I log off, I feel a sense of profound satisfaction. We didn't just survive the fire drill. We learned from it, and we are already rebuilding our defenses to be stronger than they were before. The rhythm of my work is a constant cycle between internal focus and external engagement. Having spent the last few days strengthening our internal processes after the system outage, my attention now pivots outward to one of our most critical external partners, our commercial bank. This afternoon, I have our quarterly business review or QBR with our bank's relationship manager. This isn't just a courtesy call. Our bank is more than just a place where we keep our money. They are a key technology and service provider. The fees we pay them for transaction processing, fraud prevention tools, and account maintenance represent a significant operational expense. My job is to ensure we are getting the absolute best value and service for that cost, and to partner with them to make our shared processes more efficient and secure. An hour before the meeting, I do my homework. I have the bank's account analysis statement for the last quarter open on my screen. This is a detailed invoice that breaks down every single service fee we've paid, from the per item cost for every wire transfer and ACH payment to the monthly fee for our online banking portal. I'm not just looking at the total cost, I'm analyzing the trends. I notice that our fees for international wire transfers have crept up significantly. I pull our own internal data on transaction volumes. While our international payment volume has increased, the fees have increased at a much faster rate. This is a red flag for me. It could be a change in the bank's fee schedule that we weren't properly notified about, or an inefficiency in how we are bundling our payments. This goes to the top of my agenda for the call. My second area of focus is on service improvement. The experience during the system outage is still fresh in my mind. The manual, single-entry wire transfer process was our biggest point of risk and inefficiency. I want to turn that pain point into a constructive conversation with the bank. My goal is to come out of this meeting with a clear path toward a better solution. Finally, I review our current fraud prevention services. In the world of digital finance, the threats are constantly evolving. Part of managing the banking relationship is ensuring we are always using the most up-to-date security tools available to protect the company's assets. The video call begins with the usual pleasantries, but we quickly get down to business. After the relationship manager gives her summary of the quarter, I take the lead. Thank you for that overview. I start. I'd like to focus on a few key areas today. First, let's talk about the service fees. I've analyzed our most recent statement, and I'd like to understand the significant increase in our international wire transfer costs. Can you walk me through the rate changes or volume tiers that are driving this? I share my screen showing a simple chart I created that compares the growth in our payment volume to the much steeper growth in our fees. By presenting the data clearly, I move the conversation from a general complaint to a specific, fact-based inquiry. The relationship manager acknowledges the data and promises to investigate with her pricing team to see if we are on the optimal fee schedule for our current volume. Next, I pivot to the topic of process improvement. As you know, operational resilience is a top priority for my team. During a recent business continuity event, we identified a need to improve our manual payment process. The single-entry method for emergency wires is both slow and carries a high risk of clerical error. We need a more robust solution. What can you offer in terms of a secure, bulk file upload capability for manual wire transfers? This is a direct and strategic request. I am not just a passive consumer of their services. I am an active partner looking to co-design a better process. The relationship manager seems prepared for this, and she describes a treasury management tool the bank offers that allows for exactly this type of secure file upload, complete with multi-factor authentication and a clear audit trail. That sounds promising, I say. Please follow up after this call with the technical specifications, the implementation timeline, and the associated costs for that service. I'd like to schedule a demo for my team as soon as possible. Finally, I turn the conversation to security. On the topic of risk management, what new fraud prevention tools has the bank rolled out in the last 6 months? I want to ensure we are staying ahead of the curve. This question prompts a productive discussion about services like Positive Pay, which helps prevent check fraud, and enhanced controls for international payments that can flag transactions going to high-risk countries. We agree that she will schedule a separate, more detailed session with their Treasury security specialist to walk my team through these new offerings. The meeting concludes on a positive note, with a clear set of action items for both sides. The bank will investigate our fee structure and provide a proposal for the new Treasury tool. I will work with my team to prepare for the security demo and evaluate the business case for the new services. As I sign off, I reflect on the evolution of this professional relationship. Years ago, interactions with our bank might have been purely transactional. Today, it's a strategic partnership. My role as a finance operations manager is to be the steward of that partnership, constantly pushing for more efficiency, better security, and greater value. By actively managing these external relationships, I am not just controlling costs. I am strengthening the operational foundation upon which the entire company runs. As my week winds down, my calendar holds one of my favorite types of meetings. It's not a high-stakes negotiation or a crisis response call. It's a mentoring session with a junior analyst from the corporate accounting team named Jessica. She's bright, ambitious, and has expressed an interest in moving into an operations-focused role in the future. In these sessions, my role shifts from manager to guide, from director to advisor. Jessica starts the call with a thoughtful question that gets right to the heart of the matter. "Alex," she begins, "I see the reports you produce and I hear about the big projects your team is working on. But I'm curious, beyond the technical skills, what do you believe is the single most important quality for someone to be successful in finance operations?" I lean back and consider the question. It's a great one. It's easy to say you need to be good with numbers or understand systems. But that's just the price of entry. "That's a fantastic question, Jessica," I reply. "If I had to boil it all down to one single quality, it would be a relentless sense of curiosity, channeled through a process-oriented mindset. Let me explain what I mean. Anyone can look at a transaction and see that it's complete. A process-oriented person asks, what were all the steps that led to this transaction? Where was the data entered? Who approved it? How was it transmitted? And where could this process have broken down? They don't just see the what, they see the entire how. This curiosity, I continue, is what separates a processor from a problem solver. It's the difference between just doing a task and actually improving the way the task is done. I remember early in my career, I was responsible for reconciling a key account. For months, there was a recurring discrepancy, not large but persistent. My job was just to find it and fix it each month. But one day, I got curious. I spent a whole afternoon tracing the entire process from start to finish. I discovered the error was happening because a data file from another system was formatted in a way that our system was consistently misinterpreting one specific transaction type. By asking why, I found the root cause. We put a simple validation step in place, and the recurring error vanished forever. I saved myself hours of work each month, but more importantly, I made the entire process more reliable. That's the power of a process mindset. Jessica is taking notes, fully engaged. So it's about seeing the whole assembly line, not just your individual station, she says. Exactly. I affirm. And that leads to the second part, which is communication. Once you understand the process, you have to be able to explain it to people who don't. You have to explain to an IT analyst why a data format matters. You have to explain to a sales leader why a purchase order is crucial. You have to explain to a CFO, in a few clear bullet points, how a process improvement project will benefit the business. You have to be a translator, turning operational details into business language. I decide to share a more personal insight. The other key lesson I've learned is that in operations, you are never the solo hero. Your success is entirely dependent on the strength of your team and the quality of your partnerships with other departments. The system outage we had earlier this week is a perfect example. I didn't fix the server. My team, following a plan we all built together, is what kept the business running. My job was to provide clarity, remove roadblocks, and trust in their expertise. True operational leadership is about building a resilient team and a resilient process, and then empowering them to succeed. As our session nears its end, I want to give her something tangible to work on. Let me leave you with a small challenge. I say, pick one recurring task you do every week. Just one. Next week, before you start it, take 30 minutes and try to draw a simple flowchart of the process. What's the trigger that starts it? What information do you need? What are the decision points? What is the final output, and who receives it? Don't worry about making it perfect. The goal is just to practice looking at your own work through a process lens. Jessica smiles, a look of determination on her face. Okay, I can do that. Challenge accepted. We wrap up the call, and I'm left with a feeling of deep satisfaction. The daily crises and deadlines are the immediate reality of my job. But moments like this feel like the real legacy. It's about taking the hard-won lessons from years of experience, the successes, the failures, the fire drills, and using them to build a blueprint for the next generation of leaders. It's a reminder that the most important process we can ever improve is the one that develops our people. It's late Friday afternoon. The frantic energy of the week has subsided, replaced by the quiet hum of tasks being completed and loops being closed. The final reports have been run, the last urgent emails have been answered, and my team members are signing off one by one in our chat channel, wishing each other a good weekend. This is my favorite time of the week, a few moments of quiet reflection before I close my own laptop. I find myself scrolling back through my calendar and my notes, looking at the shape of the week that was. It feels like a lifetime ago that we were dealing with the failed Omnitech payment. That single, urgent problem kicked off a cascade of events. The quick team huddle, the methodical problem-solving, and the permanent system fix that followed. From there, the week unfolded like a microcosm of the entire role. We shifted from reactive to proactive, advancing the project for the new expense management software. We went from the tactical to the strategic, mapping out the future of our cash flow and modeling for the weeks ahead. We looked inward, strengthening our foundations with the user access review and learning valuable lessons from our own system outage. The after-action review wasn't about blame. It was about building a more resilient machine. We looked outward, reinforcing partnerships with our auditors, our key vendors, and our bank, turning procedural discussions into opportunities for improvement and collaboration. And through it all, there was the human element. The difficult conversation with the vendor that turned into a moment of process clarity. The one-on-one with Mark, helping him chart a course for his own career growth. And the mentoring session with Jessica, where I had the chance to pass on the blueprints of a profession I've come to value so deeply. Someone once asked me if I ever get bored. working in a role that's so focused on process and control. They wondered if I missed the excitement of the front lines of sales deals or new product launches. I've thought about that a lot, and I've realized that my job isn't about being in the spotlight. It's about making sure the spotlight has power. The finance operations team is the quiet engine in the heart of the company. We are the architects and the mechanics of the systems that allow the innovators to invent, the marketers to create, and the sellers to sell. When we do our job perfectly, no one should even notice we're there. Payroll arrives in their bank accounts on time, every time. The tools and services they need are paid for without delay. The company's financial foundation is so solid, so reliable, that they are free to focus all their energy on driving the business forward. Our victories are not celebrated with loud gongs or public announcements. Our victory is a smooth month-end close. It's a clean audit report. It's a crisis that is averted before anyone outside the team even knew it was happening. It's the steady, predictable, reliable hum of a well-run operation. I look at my task list for next week. We have the demo for the new Treasury security tools. We have the first draft of the offline emergency approval form to review. The RPA project for cash application moves into its next phase. The work is never truly done. The process can always be a little bit better, a little bit stronger, a little bit smarter. That is what keeps me engaged. It's the endless, fascinating puzzle of building a better system, of creating order out of complexity. It's a profession that demands precision, rewards curiosity, and is built on a foundation of trust. I send one last message to my team channel. Incredible work this week, everyone. Thank you for your focus and dedication. Have a restful and well-deserved weekend. As the final replies come in, I close my laptop. The quiet of my office is no longer just the absence of noise. It's the sound of a job well done. The engine is steady. The ship is on course. And on Monday, we will be here to make sure it sails on.
Disclaimer. The information presented is for informational purposes only and is not professional financial, investment, or tax advice. All investments involve risk and may result in partial or total loss. You should always conduct your own research and consult with a qualified financial professional before making any financial decisions. By viewing this video, you agree not to hold the creator liable for any loss or damage arising from your use of the information provided.